Awesome. Hi, everyone. Hope you all are having an amazing Wednesday so far. Welcome to our third edition of our Leadership Lessons Q&A event series. My name is Alex, and I'm the Growth Marketing Manager at OfferZen. Before we dive into the event, we've got a few rules of engagement. So if you have any questions, please make sure to drop them in the questions tab on the right at any time. We'll make sure to cover them at the end of the session. The session is also being recorded, so you'll get the replay link post the event if you missed out on any nuggets of wisdom. And the chat is open, so maybe while we wait for a few more people to join, maybe say hi, maybe share where you're joining from. We'll give that a few seconds. Awesome, we got Cape Town. Josie, Cape Town. I also know Adrian mentioned yesterday in our dry run that a few ex-Warp development humans might also be joining, so we'll see if they're also in the room. Okay, cool. Lots of Cape Townians, love it. Okay, so welcome again to everyone that's just joined. I'm Alex, and I'll be hosting today's Q&A session. Just a few words about OfferZen. OfferZen is a developer talent marketplace that was founded in Cape Town, South Africa in 2016. With OfferZen, companies don't just hire, they hire smarter. Choose to connect with top developers directly through our curated marketplace, or go premium with OfferZen Embedded, where a dedicated talent partner joins you and your team to handle the heavy lifting for you. If you are interested, I'm just going to pop a poll on the screen now, so you can just vote over there. Awesome. We'll also be hosting a series of these events over the next few months, featuring tech leaders from top companies, both locally and internationally. We'll be diving into real challenges, career-defining moments, and leadership lessons that have really shaped these leaders' careers. That being said, today we're joined by Adriën Erasmus, co-founder and director at Warp Development. Let's bring him on stage. Give him a few seconds. Cool. Hi, Adriën. How's it?
Alex, hi.
Good. Let's start with a quick intro, especially I think the early founder story that everyone's waiting to find out a bit more about. Warp Development's been around for over 2 decades, which is rare in tech, but equally as awesome. How did it all begin?
How much time do we have? So, so I got a job actually at shortly after my father passed away. Got a job. Rudy, my business partner, invited me for an interview. I got the job. Long story short, we went back to the employer and said, "Hey, how about you just pay us our salaries and we work for you, and we don't work for you, but we do work for you." So, and he said, "That's a great idea. Then I don't have to manage you." And that's all how it started. And then we got cheeky and we said, "Hey, would you mind if we borrow like 2 desks and 2 chairs?" And we went to fetch a trailer, and the rest is history. So that's how we started.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm excited to dive into the journey, because you made that very oh no, that's just what happened. But I'm sure there's so many moments along that we can unpack today. But maybe just for the audience, just to remind everyone, we'll be unpacking about 3 main themes, mainly journey from dev to leader, the mess ups and the milestones, and then lastly, building and leading for the future. Again, for the audience, if you have any questions, just pop them in the questions tab and we'll get to them at the end. Okay, cool. So I think let's dive in. I think there's a lot of things we want to unpack. Theme number 1, the journey from dev to leader. I'm keen to kick things off by going back to the start. Adriën, you didn't just wake up one day as a co-founder or a director. There's a whole journey, as we said. And I'm keen to unpack that transition for you. So how did it go from dev to leader to ultimately founder, the turning points, the mindset shifts, and all the things that come with that? So maybe to start, was there a defining moment or decision early on that shifted you from being hands-on with code to driving strategy and leadership?
Well, it was when I realized I wasn't the best programmer.
Fair enough.
To be honest, I've never been the best programmer. I studied BCom informatics. I've always been more business minded, and my business partner Rudy was highly. He would be the guy that wins Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And if there's any warpies in this room, you guys would very well know that Rudy is a genius and just an amazing mind to work with. So, and that is also what I believe has set us up for success, is we never focused on the same problem. So I was always focused on business, sales, development, strategic alignment with human beings. I love working with people, and and I love building relationships. And Rudy equally, but he's also very focused around architecture and quality of code, and so that's I believe that's been our magic. And we said, hey, let's divide and conquer. You focus on the tech, and I'm going to bring the business in. And I think that's been a key deliverable for us to build a successful business, is to not worry about the same things, and also not to try and beat each other at being the best at that specific thing. He trusts me implicitly to focus on the business, and he trusts me to focus on the relationships and the people, and I can trust him to have my back on the tech side. So I was always more focused around front end and visual, and I can be truly creative, which I love. But let's say maths was never my strongest. I was more the jock programmer, that's so what's more that guy.
I love it.
Honest.
Okay. So lean into what you do well and trust your counterparts to do what you don't maybe do as well.
Absolutely.
Awesome. If you could go back and give your junior self one piece of advice, especially knowing that you've now become a founder and have Warp where it is today, what would it be?
My junior self. In the beginning, and I'm not sure if I would teach myself or if I would do it any differently, but we really, and I actually believe it was a reason why we are successful, is because we always put fun first, and we really we ran our business like a family for the initial years until we stepped into scale. So it would be to set scaling principles and to learn scaling principles sooner. I think we wasted a couple of years, but it sure was fun. And it's lessons that we had to learn. It was failures that we had to go through in order to set us up for better to be better leaders for the people that work with us.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know until you figure it out.
100%. So and I guess we can talk about scale a bit later, and what the tools that we've used and implemented in the company to do that. But I would say I would have done that sooner, but I'm not sure if it would have made a difference, because those were lessons that we had to go through in order to get to where we are today. So I just want to say something, Alex. If I'm not looking at you, I've got this new massive screen. I need to literally go like this in order to focus everywhere. So I'm looking at you. Okay. All right.
As I said, it's a good segue of things you didn't know and the lessons along the way. Maybe now what you know, what's something you wish you knew before you stepped specifically into a leadership role?
Leadership can be very lonely, and you can't always be someone's friend. And sometimes you really have to make tough decisions for the business. And I cannot always be the most liked person in the room. And sometimes it's the nature of the role. And one thing I remember hating is if we have to have tough decisions or have tough conversations with people, and me and Rudy used to ching chong cha, who's going to have that conversation? I lost most of the times, but it's also it's helped us build an A-player only team. And one thing that I've learned is that the energy that you have becomes your team's energy. Yeah. So I cannot just protect my own well-being and how I feel. I need to be responsible and act behalf of everybody.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say, I've got this thing. Let me show you. It's actually right here, and I put this on every now and then, and it reminds me that sometimes no captains in a calm sea, and when I have to make difficult decisions, I usually put this thing on. I also have another toy here, which is an eight ball.
And what is that used for?
Sometimes I just don't know, and sometimes I don't know. Sometimes it's hard for me to be the leader sometimes, and I try to make it fun. try and make light of, because there are some hard decisions to make as a leader.
I think that's so important. And I mean, what's wrong with rubber ducking with an 8 ball? Like, it's just helping you work through your thoughts.
Absolutely. It can only be a yes, no, or a maybe. One of those three.
Exactly. I mean, speaking about loneliness, I can also imagine imposter syndrome is a popular topic when you're navigating leadership. Have you experienced it? And how did you navigate it?
So if I had to maybe, it's definitely, so it's two ways. If I need to, let's say any one of you guys that step into a business, you feel like an imposter in the beginning because you don't know anybody there. It's scary. Um, you rarely know what you're really going to be doing. Sometimes you step into a company that's got a great culture. Sometimes you step into a company that's got a poor culture. Sometimes you know, you might have been promised the sun, moon, and stars, and you get there and you do reporting forever and just do rework, which might not be what was sold to you. So it's not, you don't know what's happening, and it's that fear when you step into that new role. And
Mm,
I guess for me, it was to really grow and scale our company internationally. I had to put myself out there and literally just go to conferences and events at um, in the United States or in Europe, where I literally don't know anybody, and I need
yeah.
to muster energy from from somewhere. You're literally sitting in your hotel room and you don't really know, like, how am I going to speak to these people? How am I going to actually sell but not sell? How am I going to be me but also not be me? I need to, it's a, I'm actually, deep down, I'm an introvert. So it's hard sometimes, and you feel like an imposter. What am I
Yeah.
doing here? But if I look back now, if I haven't done those things, we wouldn't be in the position we are today. I mean, it's sometimes you have to really put your energy out there, even if you don't feel like
Mm,
being it there or standing up or going out to do something. But networking is hard, and it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of energy, and it makes you tired.
yeah. And I can imagine that never goes away. It's just a skill that you continue to hone and get a little bit better at. Do you have any tips for the audience on how to slowly overcome that?
Just do it. Just do it. You'll get better at it.
Mm,
Um, if I mean, like, one of our very first employee that started at Warp Development, I don't think he's in the room today because he's probably busy, too busy, is Llewellyn Breed, and some of you might know him. And when he started at Warp Development, he was too afraid to speak to a human being. And today he leads a team of 15 developers on one of our largest accounts. And he
mm,
is so well respected. So everybody has leadership in them. Everybody. It might not be that you're a salesman, might not
mm,
be that you're the best programmer or the best in creative and user experience or customer experience. But if you are that person, that is where you are the leader. So leadership is not defined as somebody that's the boss or that is on management. That
yeah.
is not a leader. A leader is somebody that is a leader in their skill and excels and has specialized in what they do, and that other people can learn from you and other people respect that authentically. You don't have to sell it. Yeah.
Oh, there's like definitely a quote in there. I love that. Maybe moving on to advice. Do you have any great leadership advice that you received maybe early in your journey as Warp was developing? And how has it shown up now in your roles?
Leadership advice. I don't like to give advice. I only like to share experience.
Mm,
So, and that's why I'm saying, I actually had one guy years ago step into my office and he barges into my door and he storms in there. He says, "What have I got to do to become a manager in here?" And I'm like, "Not that." So it's like, it's it's just show up, like, be
yeah.
the best you can be. For me, the people that make great leaders are people that can communicate really well.
Mm,
So communication is key because you need to be able to verbalize, to become that, to become a mentor for other people in what you say. So if you struggle to communicate, and it's not easy for everybody to do that, but if you overcome that fear of communicating to other people, especially nowadays with everything that's so remote, you can just continuously do that. If somebody messages you, if somebody emails you, if somebody calls you, get back to them in a great amount of time, because that buys a lot of respect. Like if somebody just blue ticks you, that's not great. So for me, I want to be acknowledged when I have a question. I want to be heard, and I want to get feedback, or I want to get information or knowledge for somebody. So that's what for me is communication will come up loads of time when I speak about anything. For me, it's more important than any technical skill. Communication is the most important one for me.
And it's also that thing of like treating people like you would want to be treated.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Culture, like that buys culture as well. To to be treated well. If you ask somebody something and they genuinely mean it, and they get back to you, and they satisfy your question, that buys respect.
Awesome.
If they just bluff you off, it will, not great.
No, not at all. Awesome. I think that's at the end of our theme one of kind of that journey from dev to leader. I just want to pause quickly and say, do you have anything maybe you still wanted to add on this theme, or can we move on?
No, I'm happy. If there's, I'm not sure. Do you do questions at the end? If anybody has a question for me,
yeah, we'll keep those questions for the end, because maybe we might tackle it already in some of the other themes. Okay, cool. So let's move on to theme number 2, the mess ups and the milestones. So we know that building something, especially from the ground up, comes with its fair share of bumps along the way. I'm keen to talk a little bit more about some of the tough moments, the mess ups, milestones, and the lessons that really stuck with you along the way. But maybe starting more positively, looking back, what's a big decision you got right? Maybe one that really shaped Warp Development's direction. And how did you know that it was the right call?
So I would say, and I'm authentically saying this. So I'm sure there's a couple of, let me see, there should be a couple. I'm just going to the chat here. Uwes Lamprecht, John Skinner. Is that you, Eddie? Game and Gunazi. I'm seeing some warps here. Ninja Bulo, what's up, dude? So when are you guys coming back? Sorry, no, just kidding. We truly have an authentic culture at Warp Development, and we're all great friends, and make an offer. So I'm going to close this chat now. So I'm going to be distracted. So it's definitely, you spend 8 hours a day at the office. So it's definitely, or not at the office, or working, doing what you work. So it's definitely also investing back into authentic friendships and really connecting with people that you work with. So I would say we got culture right. And we do a lot of effort, and we now have a team of people that make sure that we try and put effort on culture. It's difficult if you're remote. It's very hard, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. If you and we have a like a hybrid policy, or a remote only policy. We don't have a fixed corporate policy of how we do work at Warp. We are very flexible. We take everything into account. If somebody lives in Pofadder and they're a great, they've got great skill and they can communicate, they can deliver the work, we're not going to say, no, you can't work for us because you live in Pofadder. But if somebody's in town, hey, come in every now and then, come have a beer with us, or a coffee, or a cool drink, or come have lunch. So it's building culture and having fun. So I do believe that there's people that have built great friendships beyond work, because it's not just work. There's way more to work than just work.
Yeah. And I mean, you can see that in ex-Warp Development humans showing up to support you today. So I love that. Maybe on the other opposite side, can you walk us through a time when something went really wrong? What happened? How did you recover from it? And what did you learn?
So there's two. I can refer to two. So
Mm.
the first one was we went down in a very specific niche in the beginning of our business, which was into it was mining automation software and CAD automation, which was very focused around one. We only had one route to success, and if that failed, it would have cost us the business, and it almost did. So what we did was we said we're going to, and this is where me and Rudy split up, and we grew the business into different verticals. We created pods of squads of different disciplines, and we said in our economy and in our country, we have to be nimble enough to be able to steer into a different direction. And that's why, I would say primarily the bread and butter of our company is we build custom systems for businesses, and we've also recently acquired an AI company. But building bespoke solutions is what we do now, and it's given us that has given us the nimbleness and the flexibility to be able to focus on multiple disciplines, and also for the people that work with us to not just sit and focus on one discipline for the rest of their career. They have the ability to say, hey, Adrian, I love the company, but I feel a bit bored in what I'm doing here. Is there another area that I can grow into? Well, let's say it might be language or stack. It might be a kind of role. Like if somebody wants to start off as a technician, he could grow into a DevOps engineer. If somebody starts off as let's say a front end engineer, and he has aspirations to grow into a full stack engineer, we can support you. We can cool. We've got multiple language stacks that we focus on. Do you want to go the Microsoft route? Do you want to go the Node route? What do you want to do? And we can bring that. So I would say it was a risk for us in the beginning, and how we pivoted and changed it was through opening up the doors to not just focus on one thing. And now with AI, it's very easy for us. It's made it easier for us, and it's enhanced our offering to build great systems in a reasonable amount of time, and not necessarily only having that specific discipline in the business.
Yeah.
So, and then the other one would definitely be COVID was a super weird time for us. It wasn't a bad time in terms of business or revenue. We grew in that year, but it was just weird. How do we handle this? How do we navigate this? We were in office. Everybody was in office. How are we gonna? What do we do with the office? What do we do with the people? We had these weird town hall meetings, which was the weirdest thing. And jokingly, I said to the guys that set up the Teams chats and all those things. I want to bring in an intro for a news, like a CNN thing coming in. We have to make this fun, as weird as it was. So it was a strange time. It's changed business and work for everybody since then. Nothing's changed back to the way it was before. So we've had to change policy in terms of how do we enable people to work remotely? How do we still have a culture in the company without everybody being here? So it's been but it's taught us resilience, adaptability, the importance of staying grounded when everything feels a bit upside down. Yeah.
I think a common theme for me within that is just remaining adaptable to what's going on. If the first problem to your second thing that you shared now, it's just adapting to what's going on and staying kind of open to what's happening in the market at the moment.
Absolutely.
Okay. Every leader hits a wall at some point. Maybe what's been one of the toughest moments for you outside of maybe the two stories you just shared, and how did you navigate it personally?
I would say be careful to grow too quickly. Or a company that grows too quickly, it can be risky, especially in startups. In a startup environment, there might be, there's shareholders' money, it's VC money or whatever. Hey, we can hire the best, or we can offer salaries beyond what the role can actually afford to quickly build a team. So I would say it's building stuff too quickly and inorganically can be risky. So especially when opportunities are flying at you, because we found that like you will get a client. We just built. We do it all the time. Like it's a risk and it's a hard lesson, but nobody says no to it. And not even us, like not even me. I struggle to say no to stuff sometimes, because we just built a team in the US to work on an Apple account, and that is who's going to say no to that? So, but to build a team of 14 people in a month, is that a risk? Yes, it is. But are you going to say no? I don't know. So it's a risk that I would just like to put out there for anybody here that that either has their own business, or they are a contractor or a freelancer, or they work for a company. It's a risk if something grows too quickly, but it's also a great opportunity. So it's a double-edged sword. So if opportunities are flying at you, and if there's unchecked growth and you stretch your team, you compromise quality, something's got to give. So we call it the marshmallows. We try to stay clear of any marshmallow. That is, when I say marshmallow, it might look like a very nice sweet, or it looks great, but when you eat it, there's nothing in it. So we try to make sure that there's sustenance in what we dig our teeth into, and we might say no to certain business ventures that are or opportunities that come our way. And strategically, I have a great team around me, and we'll say, does this align with our integrity, our values, our communication, all of the values in our company? Does it align? If it doesn't align, we really think about it, and we try and sometimes say no, which is an incredibly hard thing to do. Because in the tough times, you'll say yes to everything. In the great times, you have the luxury to really think about, is that what you want to do? So
I think I'm stealing that concept of marshmallows. I really love it. And we're going into our Q3 planning now, so we might have to think of some marshmallows too.
It's 100%.
Maybe of everything that you've built or laid along the way, what are you most proud of getting right? And what do you think made it work so well?
Again, I'm going to lean into the culture part. It's not accidental, it's intentional. We've deliberately made it part of how we operate. And the real engine is in the people. We are a people-heavy business, and that is our stock, our resources, our human capital is our IP. And like Richard Branson said, if you treat the people well, they'll stay. So we've now built a business where we have the luxury to be able to treat people well, to pay them well, and to not just like the real hope for me is that I always tell somebody whenever they walk into my office and they say, the only reason why they are allowed to leave is if I cannot pay them enough money. It should never be because I'm unhappy, because that will just hurt. I'm like, what? You're not happy. So it's I would definitely say culture has been a big driver for us, and we've built a whole steering committee in our business, which is voluntary. They don't get paid anything to do this job. It's people that put up their hand. It's about a team of 7, 8 people. And they're not being paid to manage the culture of the company, but they make sure that every Friday the bars are stocked with some beers and cool drinks and snacks, that there's pizza or burgers or steaks being fried. They plan the year-end event. We don't outsource this to anybody. We do this all internally in the company and by people that love working here. So I would say I'm going to go with culture.
I love that. Awesome. Okay, cool. I think we can move on to our final theme because I see we've also got a few audience questions. I want to make sure we cover those too. So theme number 3, building and leading for the future. So zooming out a little bit, we know that leadership isn't just about the past, it's the current and also where we're headed. So I'm keen to explore a little bit how you're thinking about the future. So you built Warp Development over 2 decades, which, as we've said already, it's no small feat. What's something about sustaining a company that no one talks about enough?
Sustaining a company. I'm trying to, would you say, what about this? Can you be more specific for me? Can we dig into that question?
Yeah, so I think it's almost thinking a little bit more along the lines of how do you keep it going with all those facets that you've already mentioned of all the mistakes that you've made along the way, all the lessons. So it's like, how do you keep that engine running and keep those things like culture, like adaptability, knowing when to fend off risks? Like, how do you keep those systems running so that you continue to scale Warp, but also keep it running at optimal conditions, if that makes sense?
Okay, so we've built quite a large management or a leadership team. We're not going to call them management, it's a leadership team. And every single person in that team was assigned a specific role to run that at his own business. And I've delegated every single thing about that piece of that business to them, and they're in charge of it. So I found that delegation and hiring people that can manage themselves for me is key. So, and since we've done that, the one thing that I've held on to and that I'm slowly letting go now is talent. You can ask every single person in this room if they've worked at Warp, is I hired them. And up to now, I would say up until Feb, and the only person that's now taken over from me or that's helping me is Renee, and people in the room here would know Renee as well. Khami, I mean, like you know Renee, Uvis, you would know Renee, Ninja, Renee. So she, it needs to be somebody that absolutely knows the what you're hiring for,
Yes.
and shares the same. Oh, well, Renee. So so no, Renee has been for me an absolute true north in helping me with the talent. But yeah, it's giving people responsibility and trusting them, because most of the times those people are actually way smarter and better than you are at doing your job. So if you're going to hold on to what you're doing, you're not going to scale. And if you trust people sometimes, and if you trust the right people, they can do a better job than you can. So yeah,
that autonomy is very important. Yeah. Awesome. How do you keep your team grounded and adaptable in times of uncertainty or rapid industry shifts, especially in the world of tech?
So we've had that now, actually, and that's been, AI has been a major disruption. I can lean into that. So we constantly have to change the way how we do things, the way we work. I mean, we used to be the languages or the tech stacks that we focused on and the disciplines that we worked on 15 years ago are no longer the same. So it's, you have to make sure that what you're selling, people are buying. So we always keep our ear on the ground. Like, let's say there was a time where everything shifted into, let's say, front-end frameworks and React, Angular, or Vue. We had to look at what the market is saying. Where are we focusing? What are we choosing as a company to focus on and be experts on? What backend languages are we choosing as a stack? And then if opportunities come up and people need that, and if they're buying, how are we going to become experts at that? And then we also take that to our teams and we say, guys, this is up. Who wants to become an expert in this, or this? And we always upskill from the inside before we look outwards. I would say that's been a big one for us. And now, I mean, like with AI, we acquired a company called Zyban AI, and we did that for immediate impact. But now we're also enabling every single person in the company. Like we've got an N8N, I think it's on Friday, we've got an N8N breakfast tech meeting where we get an expert in. We'll have like like beer and tech Fridays, but we're doing this one in the morning, which will be more of a coffee and a tech Friday. But we'll bring an expert into the room and we'll have a practical step-by-step example of how we do things and how we then enable the teams below us. So and also not restricting or telling people what to do. Sometimes we have to say this is what we're going to be using and that's the end of it, but also being open to everybody's ideas and to say like, hey, what are you guys using? What would you suggest? What would you recommend? So we try to continuously see what's the market doing and then we adapt to it. So what's going to happen in 5 years from now is going to be completely different than what we do now. I mean, you can build a prototype for quite a complex application now in days that would have taken months. So it's changed and we have to adapt with it. Otherwise, we'll stay behind.
I love that. Maybe more to leadership. What's your leadership North Star, the core principle or value that's guided you through scaling a company like Warp Development?
We've already talked about communication, which is for me always a North Star. But I would say it's definitely integrity. It sounds simple, but when no one is watching, you need to have integrity. It's guided us through our hiring process, our pricing, our partnerships, the way we sell ourselves to businesses, and we need to make sure that these big decisions filter through all the way to everybody that's doing the work. So I'm going to go with integrity.
Nice. I think we've already answered this one as well. But what's one skill or mindset you believe every future tech leader or founder needs to thrive? Communication and integrity.
Future skill, I would definitely say creativity, true creativity. So I think what's going to happen is you're able to be your own one-man army now with what's happening and how things are going. So I believe that true creatives and people that bring true value to business applications and have the ability to still communicate to a human being authentically will make a difference. So I think there'll be a sort of an elimination of a middle management layer, and everybody in the business needs to truly contribute. So the people that have hard skills, absolutely, like there will always be a role for those guys. But then also I think like an upcoming sort of role that's underpinned at the moment is true creatives. I think they're going to have the ability to really wrap their creative minds and put that into a technical translation that can be perceived by the customer as a tangible result. So the ability, let's take an example, the ability of a business analyst to take a requirement, to translate that requirement creatively into a let's say a prototyping tool like Replit or whatever you might be using, you could very quickly get to a tangible result where it would have taken weeks to do that. And then from there, take it back to the technical team, build in proper architecture and get that out there. So I think the ability for true creatives is there's loads of scope there. Yeah.
Love that. And maybe last question for this theme. What is one unconventional leadership tactic that's worked for you?
So it's definitely it's making time to play, and you won't. I don't think you'll see a lot of people sitting in boardrooms at Warp Development 3 p.m. on a Friday. So people perform better when they're seen as like whole humans and not just workers. So I would say it's the leadership. We're quite goofy at Warp, so and we're quite nerdy, but we also we have a lot of fun, and the people that work with us, we invest in them in terms
Mhm.
of not just technically. We try to invest time with them so we can actually really learn to know them. Like we have on Fridays, like we have a massive D&D cult running here in one of the boardrooms where they actually just try to get the pizzas and the beer out of the way so that they can have a D&D night. So it's definitely making time to play.
And just embracing who you are. I was half expecting the captain hat to come on for that answer, to be like,
There you go.
there we go. Awesome.
Or
So
it's like
that's
or maybe like a little trophy, winning, like whatever, it might be anything. Yeah.
yeah. Gamification is so important.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I think that's the end of our themes from our scheduled kind of questions. We have quite a few from the audience that I'm keen to dive into. So again, audience, if you have any questions and haven't popped them in, please pop them in the questions tab. I'm also going to do them via upvotes. So if there's a question that resonates with you, you can also upvote them. Let's start here. In regards to culture, do you have any experiences where your team's culture was tested? What happened and what did you learn?
So if there is yes, if you have a chain and there's one poor, like a weak link, they can spread. It can spread like a virus.
Mm.
So like, if you know something, say something. Like, speak to that person and call them out. Don't allow people, if you know that they, you have to have the guts to say what you want to say in front of other people. Don't start rumors or stories. People can be so strange sometimes, and it might be something that's completely not warranted.
Mm.
So I would say definitely to get everybody in the room, and to have radical candor, and just be honest and open, and sometimes difficult conversations can be, they're hard to have, but
Yeah.
if you do it respectfully, and in a safe space, it can quickly kill off a little fire or a little spark that might become a big fire.
Mm.
Because if you have a team, and the team's culture is performing poorly, you can immediately see it in the work and the result and the way that they behave. So and it's impossible for us to tap into every single squad or pod in the company, and that's why we have quite a large leadership team to tap into that, and to have a constant pulse of what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's not always, there are, you cannot, not everybody will be happy always. It's impossible. But we try to have a sort of an open, flat, structured regime here. We're not like, there's a ladder you need to climb before the next ladder. Like, if anybody in the company wants to speak to me, they can walk into my office, or they can WhatsApp me, or they can speak to me on Teams.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's having radical candor, just being open, honest, and having tough conversations can make a world of a difference.
I love that. Okay, next question. Are there any books that you have read that has helped you in shaping your leadership journey?
Okay. So for those of you that know me, I'm not the biggest reader. I'm a practical human being. So I'm like, my talents, I'm an audio person. I love music. I've got talent for music. And I also have attention deficit disorder and Tourette syndrome. So but what I do is, I'm a very practical person. So if you're going to be referring to books, I would say it would be books that help me, that's helped us scale, that's practical, and that doesn't take too long. There's no side story or this or that, and that's going to be Scaling Up by Vern Harnish.
Mm.
And if anybody here ever wants to learn about how do you scale a company as a recipe, how does any business that sits on the S&P 500 or any successful company, it's going to be on the Rockefeller principles, which are very basic principles to adhere to. You can literally copy and paste those. Sure, you need to sprinkle a little bit of luck and hard work on them, but if you focus on those things and you do them diligently, I would say it's Scaling Up by Vern Harnish. And then what a very practical thing that we've done in our company or implemented, which is also which would follow on that, would be it's a cash flow story by Alan Mills. And he says three things, and I want to, like, for everybody, every one of you, this is very important, and this can translate into your salary, and that is like, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. And if you have those three, if you have that mindset, like if you have your salary at the end of the month, it can be how big that salary, but the cash that remains in your bank at the end of the month, that is what really matters. All the other fluff doesn't matter. If you can have R1 billion business, if you've got R0 profit, your business is worth nothing. So, and yeah, I would, if you're going to be talking about books that I would read, I would rather read something like Outlive by Peter Attia if I need to read a book, which is also, again, a very factual book, but I didn't do a lot of novel stuff.
Yeah,
Or airy fairy stuff.
I also love in the chat now, you're titled Tech Evangelist by Day, Rockstar by Night. I think that's a good LinkedIn update potentially.
Amazing.
Okay, cool. Next question. As an introvert, what can one do to best position themselves to become successful in areas such as networking and sales? And how can you sell without being annoying to people?
Never hard sell. Never try and sell anything. Like if I have somebody trying to sell themselves to me on LinkedIn, I literally just block them. Or if somebody tries to hard sell me on an email, I block their domain. And it's not because I'm trying to be rude. It is because if somebody has the time to first get to know me before he at least start try and sell something to me, it's I wouldn't block them. I'm just maybe exaggerating a bit, but it would definitely be that if you want to network, just coincidentally be where that person is going to be. And if a conversation starts, don't try and sell yourself, just be yourself. And if you are an interesting human or you have something to sell which somebody wants to buy, there will be natural chemistry and that will happen. I always, when I do my overseas trips, especially in the beginning, I'd like say to Rudy, I don't know what's going to happen. And he's like, just go. If you come back with nothing, it's cool. If nothing happens there, at least you had a good time. So I would say it's to have the least expectation, but at least put yourself out there and put your energy there and be your authentic self. And if you are good at being you authentically, people will want to work with you. And that is within your skill. And don't annoy people by trying to sell yourself to them or what you have to offer. And also another thing is, sorry, Alex, it's to sometimes do the things that you don't like. I might sometimes feel that I don't want to go to dinner with these clients tonight. I don't want to get on a plane and fly around, and I'd rather just be home. I play Fortnite. I'd want to be home and sit and play Fortnite. It's not going to move the needle.
Do the hard things.
It's going to up my level. It's not going to move the needle. So my nick is Nexus_312. If anybody wants to 1v1 me, I'm pretty good.
I love that. Okay, cool. When you started, what were the top 3 questions you asked yourself that ultimately helped you discover in what path to push your business? Did you follow your passion or demand? Is your passion different from what you're doing now? How important is it to separate passion from business? Sure, that's a loaded one. I think we can break it into what were the top 3 questions first?
When you started, what were the top 3 questions you asked yourself? I didn't really think about that. Me and Rudy just said, if this doesn't work out, we can always just find a job. That's what we said. So we didn't really. If you're young, you can take risks. The older you get, the less risk you can take. So I would say that if it's a question, I would say we would have asked ourselves, what was our risk appetite? And our risk appetite was high.
Yeah.
If I had to start now, I wouldn't have the guts to do it. It's been hard. It's a hard journey, but it's also the passion and the fun. And I'm actually like, I'm not in tech because I love tech. I'm in tech because I love human beings.
That I'm just all I'm sitting here is I'm like, I just want to quote this and put it onto social so that more people can see it. Okay, cool. I'm conscious of time, so let's see what else we can get through. Fellow person with Tourette's here. Thanks for being open about it. What's something Tourette's or being neurodivergent more broadly has taught you that you now see as a strength in business or leadership? Any specific experiences?
I think if you have Tourette's, you're incredibly intelligent. No, I'm just joking. So it's to have a tick is hard. I've got most of my ticks under control now, but it's hard because you have this inkling feeling that you have to do something like shake your head or do something that will make people uncomfortable. So it's really it's made me accept who I am, being quite a high energy human being, accepting that you know, like I'm flawed, and if people should accept me for who I am as a whole with my faults. And yeah, I think it makes you special. It's a superpower.
Awesome. I love the
There's definitely people that I've met with Tourette syndrome really have there's always a very good talent there.
Thank you for being vulnerable, and thank you to the human asking. Okay, cool. So I think from an audience perspective, we've covered most of the questions. I'm conscious of time, and we usually do a bit of a rapid fire end off. So this is just a few questions that we try and keep it a little bit short of, let's just get like a nugget of wisdom out of this. So maybe first rapid fire question. What's one leadership myth you wish people would stop believing?
That the leader knows more than you do.
Love it. What's a quote or mantra you keep coming back to?
I love what I do, but I don't do it for love.
What's one thing about being a founder that surprised you?
Again, the founder is not always the smartest person in the room.
Love it. And that's a wrap for today's Q&A. I mean, I just love how we've ended on quite like a vulnerable, honest, and open kind of note. So thank you for bringing that, Adriën. I think one thing that people can take away from your journey is that, you know, being a founder isn't just about building products. It's about building the people behind it, the purpose and that resilience to overcome all the things that's thrown at you as someone who creates a business. Audience, thank you for showing up and also creating vulnerability and cheering for Adriën in the chat. I think, Adriën, you must try and have a look through. It's like people are leaving a lot of love for you. Again, the recording will be available for everyone if you want to come back to some nuggets of wisdom. And we also have a few more upcoming events with other tech leaders, as well as kind of hiring insights. So I'm just going to pop this onto the screen now if you guys want to come to more. And yeah, just again, a massive thank you, Adriën, for giving us a window into what it's really like to build a company from scratch, leading through change, and really staying grounded and vulnerable through it all. Your journey is a reminder that entrepreneurship is as much heart as it is hustle. So I love that. And yeah, just thanks to everyone for joining us. Until next time, enjoy the rest of your Wednesdays. Cheers.
Can I just say one thing very quickly? If anybody here, we have offices we're in Somerset West, and we're also in Pretoria, Adelaide, Australia, and Georgia, Atlanta. And if anybody here ever wants to speak to me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Adriën Erasmus. I'm not sure if I should put my email address in the quote in the chat.
If you're open to it.
Or let me do this. If anybody wants to ever see what's available, go to careers.warpdevelopment.com, or connect with me on LinkedIn. You should be able to find me there quite easily. And yeah, happy to have a coffee. Okay.
Awesome. So yeah, if anything resonated today, go check out the careers page. Awesome. Everyone enjoy your day, the rest of your day. Cheers.